game fans! Okay, and welcome to another video from Gaming Debugged. If you ever want to go to the website, don't forget it's www.gamingdebug.com. There's a written review there, but here is the video review of Watchdogs. Now, there's no such thing as a bad idea, okay? Now, I can imagine the brainstorming meeting when the team at Ubisoft, Montreal I think it was, got together to discuss Watchdogs and how it was going to come together. I mean, they had this game mechanic and it was like, okay, we really like GTA, but what if you could have a GTA and you could control the city, you know, and then you could control the traffic lights, and it's a really good concept, you know, the idea of it is really good. So I think they had that idea. But then it was just like, well, now how do we make it work? So Watch Dogs was born, and this game sort of like was grown around this concept of controlling a city. But what GTA and things like Red Dead Redemption did really well is build a really interesting character and a story around that character. So what sort of Watch Dogs kind of does is it has built this amazing city of Chicago, and then place this kind of one-sided sociopath on its fringes and kind of let him cause havoc as he kind of has this like weak like Batman complex where, you know, I mean, let me start again. Okay, so Aiden Pierce is a hacker, and he's a hacker turned vigilante when his niece is killed by someone who he's kind of done wrong to. So he's hacked the wrong person, they've gone in and they've killed his niece. And this has cut him up, and he's got really upset. Now, basically, it's a nice idea, but the story is so paper thin, and Aiden is both sort of flat and unlikable. I mean, the story would have been better, really, if it had followed the exploits of his grieving sister, who could have then tried to seek revenge whilst being a single mum, looking after the son who had also retreated into himself and gone all silent. I mean, that would have been an interesting story, but what we've got is Aiden Pierce in his trench coat, just being a bit grumpy and a bit angry, going out trying to seek revenge. Perhaps I could have been more sympathetic to Aiden's story if I wasn't constantly being pulled away from it on meaningless tasks. I mean, whilst trying to get to a story progression point, you're sort of plagued by these distractions. You know, a crime is being committed over here, you know, there's a task to be done over here, there's a mini game over here, and some alarm has gone off and so you've suddenly got to jump on a car or on a motorcycle and then ride to the other side of the city. I mean, it wouldn't have been so bad if these mini games actually meant something towards the story, but like earning money is really uninteresting as you can just steal money as you walk down the street and, you know, take it off people's mobile phones. And you know, when you buy new cars, you know, why buy new cars when you can just unlock them by stealing them every so often? Similarly, you can pick up weapons when enemies drop them. So the earning of money becomes rather pointless, really. So unless you're a completionist who just wants to go through all the achievements, there's very little to do in these mini games. And once you've done one, they're all very samey. So once you've done one fetch quest or one kill the bad guy, like running a bad guy off the road, then do you really want to do 10 more? So other rewards that you can get are like reputation points that determine whether the NPCs call the police or not. But this was really kind of, I don't know if it was buggy or if the algorithm was a little bit weird, but I would find that the difference was so negligible that at one point I had an NPC say, don't worry, you know, not to worry, he's not going to call the police. But then a couple of meters away, there was some woman on the phone calling the police. So it really kind of destroyed that aspect for me. So one minute I was being a really good boy and not hitting people or hurting people, and then that kind of thing happens and it just sort of takes you out of the story and it says, well, what's the point in it? Okay, so finally you gain skill points through the game by completing some of the mini games and completing the story sections, and generally sort of milling about. So these skill points can be quite useful. You know, you can use it so you can improve your focus, so your slow motion mode, so you can shoot more people, and there's certain perks to make you a pistol expert or a sniper rifle expert. So these ones are actually kind of useful for the main game, but there is also a handful in there which just seem pointless. So I think there was one in the driving where you have less blowouts if you have this perk. Now, I pretty much went through the entire game before I decided to commit to that perk without having a single blowout. So the idea of spending 3 of these skill points on it was just a bit pointless. So it was another great idea, but just badly realised. So yeah, during my playthrough, I mean, don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed levelling up my character, and I think it was a really nice idea. And you know, it was great to sort of upgrade my hacking skills, and my driving skills, and my fighting skills. But the whole thing was so subtle, it was barely noticeable. Watchdogs is essentially the sum of its parts. It has a lot of good ideas, but are not fully explored or executed. I mean, together these parts don't make a cohesive whole, but instead they sort of create a city of mini-games that feel sort of disjointed and continually take you away from the story. I mean, mix that with the glitches where sort of NPCs can walk through fences, and you find yourself getting stuck in gaps, big gaps that you should easily be able to go through, but you know, the hit area around you must be too big. So these loads of little fiddly bugs which just sort of take you out of the game and just make it a very frustrating experience. I mean, there's lots of other nice touches though. I mean, elements such as the fully playable poker games, the chess games, the gambling, the racing games, and even the drinking games, like, all extend the life of this game and give this sort of open worldness even greater depth. But they really only serve as sort of additional distractions to this sort of very mediocre story. On a whole, the graphics are great, with some really fantastic textures and some subtle touches that really bring the city to life. I mean, sadly, the graphics are not totally next gen, but what they lack in eye candy, they really make up for in things like the animations. There's so many little animations which are just fantastic. You know, a guy leaving his cup of coffee on top of the car, walking away, and then sort of forgetting and going back for it. Just these really nice little animational touches just really give the city more of an alive feel, really. So I mean, I can see this IP going far, really. I mean, if they can sort out the narrative, and if they can sort of shrink down the array of all these different experiences, or try and create more of a focus on the storyline, I think it's going to do really well. But for the first outing, I just found it very frustrating. I just found it really, really frustrating. The multiplayer is yet another fantastic idea and gives you a quick burst of excitement as you dispatch your invader, but it ultimately does nothing for the story or you as a player, and it really kind of only serves as yet another distraction. I mean, you find out somebody's invading your game, you jump on a bike or a car and you zip away, you turn around, see who's racing after you, and blap them. It's pretty straightforward stuff, but you know, again, it's another sort of really good idea, but not very well thought through. So, I mean, overall, this is a good game. You know, it's not a great game, it's a good game. The ideas are there, and there's a few standout moments, but similarly there is a lot of frustrating moments. I mean, I can imagine that the developers that are going through the brief and sort of seeing, you know, hacking a gang's base, stealing secrets next to a hell level where you run down flaming-headed zombies, and just thinking, wow, okay, this is a lot of scope for a game like this. I mean, for the price, you get a lot of game here. You know, there's a lot of different games, and it's going to take many hours to actually work your way through it. And if you're a completionist, then there is a lot to do. But if you like your single-player experience and you like narrative, then you might be disappointed. Because I think there's a lot of lessons been learned here, and you know, from the hidden PC codes, which sort of upgrades the graphics on PC, to all of these narrative glitches and all of these videos on YouTube about all of the problems with Watch Dogs. I mean, I think there's a lot of lessons that Ubisoft can take away, fix, and then come up with an amazing sequel. So, I mean, the sequel is definitely coming. At the very end, you'll realise that there's a massive advert for the sequel. But I look forward to it. You know, if they can fix what's been wrong with this one, then I look forward to it. So, you know, if the ideas are refined, I think it's going to be a truly amazing game. So, Watch Dogs 1, okay. Watch Dogs 2, I look forward to seeing it. Alright, there's been a slightly disjointed review from Gaming Debug, and I hope you've managed to get something out of it. If you did like it, please like. If you haven't subscribed already, please press the subscribe button, and I will speak to you later on. Alright, take care. Bye.